With July 1st being the first day of NBA free agency, as a Bulls fan, I was looking to this organization to handle its business and do what needed to get done. Not play around, but hurry up and take care of what needed to be taken care of. Now, I was fully understanding that the Bulls were most certainly not going to be major free agent players, and that a big portion of the importance of this free agency period for them was going to be re-signing guys, most notably Jimmy Butler and Mike Dunleavy. And when it came to both guys for different reasons, I was hoping that the Chicago Bulls were going to be able to get this done sooner rather than later. From the Dunleavy standpoint, here's a veteran role player that can space the floor, is a really good fit on a championship contending type of team, and most certainly was going to have suitors and interested teams pursuing him the longer his availability was on the free agent market. And then when it comes to Jimmy Butler, you're talking about a guy, 30th overall selection for the Bulls in 2011 out of Marquette, who has gotten better every single year, and this past year took a whole step to a whole different level and became an all-star, became an alpha male type of star to a certain degree in the NBA, established himself as one of the best two-way players in the league. And, while I never really had any fears that Jimmy Butler was going anywhere, I didn't want the situation to become ugly or messy. And for that reason and that reason alone, I was hoping that the Bulls and Jimmy Butler were going to be able to come to terms and come to terms quickly and put all of this in the past and move on to the future. So, with the first day of NBA free agency as a Bulls fan, I have to say, I'm happy with the way things turned out. The Bulls were able to re-sign Mike Dunleavy to what I thought was a very, very good, especially when you look at what's going on currently in free agency in terms of the money being thrown out there, especially the role players. The fact that they were able to sign Dunleavy for a reported 3 years, $14.4 million, where the third year of the deal isn't even fully guaranteed, is a coup in a degree. Because I was expecting a guy like Dunleavy to get a lot more. I mean, you look at guys like Brandon Wright getting $6 million a year on the open market. I thought Dunleavy would have at least gotten that, if not more. I mean, I'm pleased. Yeah, there were times where I thought Thibodeau played him too much in 2014, 2015. And with a guy being 34, almost 35 years of age, you have to start to worry about his game regressing and regressing quickly. But the contract isn't that bad. It's basically a mid-level exception type of contract. And for a guy that showed his value to this team this past season especially, and at points and times in the playoffs, a guy, again, who could space the floor, a guy who was a little gritty and tough. He was better defensively than he was given credit for, a little bit better of a rebounding presence than he was given credit for, a little bit of a better facilitator than he was given credit for. He was an important player for the Bulls, and for them to be able to lock up this type of championship caliber role player is what I classify Mike Dunleavy as, for under $5 million a year, and to have him in the fold the next couple of years, I think is outstanding, and makes me very, very happy as a Bulls fan. And then when it comes to the Jimmy Butler thing, like I said, I never had any delusions about him going to the Lakers or him going anywhere else. He was a restricted free agent. There was no way in the world the Bulls were going to let him walk anywhere else. And based off of the situation that Jimmy Butler was in as a restricted free agent, once the Bulls extended him officially, first that qualifying offer to make him a restricted free agent, and then passed along to him that max qualifying offer, which basically indicated that he really wasn't going anywhere and he was going to really have limited options in terms of the type of contract he could sign in free agency. I knew he was coming back to the Bulls, but it was just a matter of how it was going to be done. Now, there was a part of me that wondered if Jimmy Butler, the same guy who turned down a $44 million extension before this past season, was going to gamble on himself again, maybe take the Bulls' qualifying offer of $4.4 million and play it out for a year at a much lower salary and then hit the open market as an unrestricted free agent as the salary cap is due to explode next year with the new infusion of increasing TV revenues. There was a part of me that was a little concerned that was going to happen. That maybe Butler thought he gambled on himself once, maybe he could gamble on himself again and really cash into the tune of $25 million plus per year, perhaps with another team or with the Bulls come this next free agent period, next offseason. So I was worried about that one a little bit. But at the end of the day, I thought to myself, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for Jimmy Butler to do that because he's staring at a lot of guaranteed money, perhaps close to $100 million in guaranteed money. And even if he gambles on himself and he takes that $4.4 million, how much of that is he really going to get back? And is the risk reward really worth it? Is he going to put too much at risk for too little future reward? So I was hoping that everybody was going to come to their senses, and especially Jimmy Butler was going to realize it might not be the ideal situation that he wanted to enter into this offseason, but it was a situation he had, so he needed to make the most out of it. And this is why he took that gamble on himself this past year to get a big-time payday. And the Bulls and Jimmy Butler have agreed to terms on a 5-year contract, max offer worth approximately a reported $95 million. And my God, am I ecstatic about this. To me, at least for the time being, that means that Jimmy Butler is going to be a Chicago Bull for a long time to come. My favorite player on the Chicago Bulls, in my opinion, the best all-around player on the Chicago Bulls, is going to be there for the next several seasons to come. And what that means is if Derrick Rose is still there long-term and him and Jimmy Butler could find a way to coexist, and maybe Jimmy Butler can take over some of that responsibility from Derrick Rose, and Derrick Rose is willing to cede at least a little of it, this could potentially be, one of the best backcourts in the NBA for several seasons to come, and be the type of backcourt that will keep the Bulls in a contending type of position for the next several years. But it's just the thought of the fact that Jimmy Butler is going to be there, barring any unforeseen circumstances with trade or anything else, for at least the next 4 years. Because with that 5-year deal, he's got a 5th-year player option. I was really wondering if he was going to end up getting a deal where he was only going to get maybe 3 years guaranteed, where the 4th year is a player option. It warms the cockles of my heart to know that I can actually go out and buy a Jimmy Butler jersey now. Part of the reason I didn't go buy a Jimmy Butler jersey was just because of the fact I wanted to have that peace of mind of knowing that more likely than not he was going to be there for a long time. Because I always thought that maybe there was a possibility that he would just take a 1-year qualifying offer to hit into free agency as unrestricted free agent next year, and then he might very well exit stage left. Well, now Jimmy Butler is a Chicago Bull for the next several years to come. I can rejoice. Bulls fans can celebrate. And now I can go out and buy myself a Jimmy Butler jersey. I've been waiting a long time to do it, and I'm glad that I now have an excuse and a reason to justify myself to spend the money to be able to do so. But it was a good first day of free agency for the Chicago Bulls. While the work's not done, they did the things that they needed to do. They got Mike Dunleavy Jr. off the market as quickly as they possibly could, which was incredibly important. And then they also got Jimmy Butler off of the market as quickly as they possibly could, which was a great thing for all parties involved, especially the Chicago Bulls, for entirely different reasons. But ultimately, the Bulls are going to be in at least decent shape and be in the mix in the Eastern Conference next year, and I'm excited about it.